Welcome to Camp Constitution Radio with your host, Hal Shurtleff. This show is heard on WBCQ The Planet every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I'd just like to say that camp, our week-long family camp, ended last Sunday, and we had a wonderful time. It was our best attended camp we had in the 7 camps we've held since we formed Camp Constitution. First one being in 2009. Tom DeWeese was one of our guest instructors, and he did a phenomenal job. He taught a couple of classes, one of them dealing with his probably the topic that he's most known for, Agenda 21. And he really related to the young people, too, the way he did it. He didn't show a bunch of PowerPoint presentations and such. He just engaged the whole class and sort of explained how it affects them and how local people at the local level and a lot of unelected bureaucrats are the ones that are bringing it into the communities. And then, of course, some practical applications as to how to get rid of it in your community and what to look for. He also did a great class on Economics 101, and again, it was in an engaging manner. He didn't just talk about a bunch of dry academic definitions and so forth, but it really resonated with the youngsters. They did it, and the adults too. And we were very glad to be able to bring him into Rindge, New Hampshire. Now, some of you may have heard him on this show a few months ago. It's archived on YouTube. Back in about a year and a half ago, Rindge is a little town in the sort of the end of Cheshire County, and about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, a handful of residents finding out about Agenda 21 through someone like me and a few others were able to educate people in the community. We're talking about a town of about 5,000 or maybe a little bit less. And in 5 months, they jettisoned several years of efforts by those promoting Agenda 21. So, indeed, we got a chance to. Tom got a chance to speak to his to the Rindge and Jaffrey, New Hampshire Republican Club on that Monday of camp in the evening, and it went very, very well. And Tom basically said what they did in Rindge was something the whole country should do. Now, Tom had some good handouts, but he also had a book that he's recently published, Now Tell Me I Was Wrong, and I'm just going through it now and halfway through reading it. And what it was is a collection of his newsletters, and it's from the 90s onward, talking about Goals 2000 and some of the policies that are being pushed by the Bush administration. This would be George W. Bush and the Clinton administration, and how Republicans have just eagerly embraced Democrat proposals, the school to work, those types of programs. And anyway, Tom is, again, one of the premier or most informed opponents of Agenda 21, and you can visit his website at the AmericanPolicyCenter.org, and I highly recommend you get hold. He's got lots of his materials archived, and he's definitely a great resource and I would say a national treasure. We are very pleased to be able to bring him on our field trip to the Tea Party Museum in Boston. Tom does travel the country quite a bit, giving presentations in states, all 50, I think all 50 states, if not pretty close. And I think he's even been invited to Canada. And anyway, but he said to me he doesn't really have a lot of time to sort of smell the roses and see some of the historic sites. But he had a chance to visit the Tea Party Museum in Boston, where we took an all-day field trip between that and the State House of Massachusetts. We also had Mrs. Chris Ann Hall, actually her husband, and who's a minister, a pastor, and their son, Colton. They had a wonderful time. We have a great program for his age group. I think he's about 10 or 11. How old is he, Emily? He's at 9? 9 or 10. Anyway, we have something called Patriot Camp. Now, Patriot Camp was something that was created about 7 or 8 years ago by a couple of ladies. I think they're from Ohio. Forgive me if I get the state wrong. And it's almost like a vacation Bible school format where there's round robin and there's various stations, and the youngsters will go to one for the course of a week. We had to modify it to a certain extent And then we did some additions, but it was very nice to see these young people learn about our history, our proud Christian background, and some of the great patriots, and present it to them in a format that they could appreciate. And we had some special guests, along with Mrs. Chris Ann Hall and Tom DeWeese. We had Garrett Lear, the Patriot pastor, and his wife, Kathy, who they were in colonial costume. Garrett is 6'7", sort of the founder of the more recent or the revived Black Robe Regiment. These were the members of the clergy back at the time of the War for Independence that wore the black robes, and they were really the vanguard of the War for Independence, because they preached freedom and liberty and sacrificing, and they were one of the main reasons why we won the battle, because we had the support of the clergy. Today, unfortunately, very few members of the clergy will be found advocating righteousness, opposing injustice, unless it's a left-wing side. You see a lot of members of the clergy will fly the rainbow flag in their church, and they'll promote Obamacare, and they promote all of the abortion and homosexuality. And though many of the churches that oppose these kinds of things have been silent by the 501c3s, this tax status, that if they dare speak out against these things, they will be audited by the IRS, and the members of their church won't give them as much money, et cetera, et cetera. It's really disgusting. But thankfully, there are some, and I like to think the number is growing. And by the way, it better grow, because especially with the Supreme Court decision that made every state in the United States a compelling interest to promote the homosexual agenda. So anyway, the camp, in addition to the great classes, we had Tom Moore, who's been a guest on the show a few times. He co-hosted the show. He did some good history lessons of the Civil War. We had author Dan McGonigal discuss, these were advanced classes too, discuss the history of the militia in the United States, and the fact that militia, the word, is not a bad word. The M word is not a bad word, since it's in the Constitution about 6 or so times, and in many state constitutions. And
good. Singing it with us.
And we had Catherine White, who was a guest on the show. She is a constitutional scholar. She gives classes on the Constitution. She also did a great job of talking about the
1887, I'm told our founding fathers all agree to write a list of principles for keeping people free. USA was just starting out a whole brand new country. So our people spelled it out, the things that we should be. They call it the Constitution. It's been helping us guide our government ever since when they obey it. The first part is called the preamble. And it goes like this. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense.
Available to
good. You're singing it with us.
Oh, we had some one of our counselors, Teresa Mazzarella from Boston. She teaches line dancing and ballroom dancing.
1887, I'm told our founding fathers all agreed to write a list of principles for keeping people free. USA was just starting out a whole brand new country. So our people spelled it out, the things that we should be. They call it the Constitution. It's been helping us guide our government ever since when they obey it. The first part is called the preamble. And it goes like this. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense.
Mountains in the world, or if not, is pretty close to that. And even though it's like 3,200 feet above sea level, it still is a challenge. It's not just a nice little one.
And I thought he was one of the most outgoing, inspirational men I've met.
Beautiful
and
panoramic
he's
view
never been to, I don't think he's ever been to this
Vermont,
camp,
New Hampshire,
I don't believe,
Massachusetts,
although he's helped support it over the
and,
years with his generosity.
The hike work.
Mr. Kingsbury has been, as you
also
see, he's got a
ties out
uniform
the
on.
campers,
And you see that, those ribbons?
More apt to go to sleep.
That one in the middle, that's because he got hurt
One of the
during combat.
features
It's
that's
called the
very
Purple
popular
Heart.
is the morning.
He's a World War II veteran.
And of course, we do have
He fought under General Patton. And we have something in common. I didn't fight under General Patton's son, but I served under him, and he served under the dad. Mr. Kingsbury's been a long-time chap leader of the John Birch Society, wherever state he lives, New Orleans, Louisiana at one point, and now in New Hampshire. He's run for office, and one of these days he's going to win. He was a gubernatorial candidate for the Libertarian Party. I think he ran for Congress. He's currently running for state rep as a Republican. Let's give a nice warm hand
airports, at night.
Hal's a great guy. It's wonderful to work with Hal. I'm looking at the audience here and I think you're wonderful. It's wonderful to see you here and it's wonderful to be here.
We're going to be having a table at the Cheshire Fair.
So why am I here?
Or Cheshire Fair,
I do have an answer.
That county. This coming week, Wednesday to Sunday, and if you happen to be in the area in the town of Swanton, New Hampshire,
hadn't been appointed
you happen to
second
be
lieutenant
in the area, you want to stop by and visit our
solemnly
table.
swear
We've been challenging
that I will support and
people,
defend the Constitution of the United States
question quiz
against
on
all
the
enemies,
Constitution,
foreign
which
and domestic,
we've discussed
that
here
it will
before.
bear true faith
And as well as
allegiance
have
to
some
the same.
pertinent information
That I
about
take
some
this
of the big
obligation
issues that
freely
come
without any
before
mental reservation
illegal
or purpose
immigration,
of evasion.
Article 5,
And that I
why
will
it's a
well
bad
and
idea,
faithfully
Agenda 21,
discharge the duties
and other things.
of the office upon
And these
which
are
I'm about to
in
enter.
addition to our camp, of course, we do
So help
outreach
me God.
events. We did a parade
I've heard a
not
lot
too long
about
ago, Flag
religion
Day,
and government,
in
and
New
that's
Hampshire.
officially the
I'm sorry, not New
oath of
Hampshire, in the
office
town
of
of
the
Dedham,
Army of the United
Massachusetts,
States,
where we handed
which
out
ends, so help me God.
500 constitutions. We handed out 500 because we only had, I think we had 1,000, we had 2,000.
A rifleman for General Patton was unusual, to say the best.
Distributed about 800 copies of the camp
In the
pamphlet.
particular
So it was a very
company I
good
was
time.
in, there are
Anyway,
3,000
going
men
back to
in
our camp, we had the room
infantry
inspections.
division that are in the rifle
We
company,
looked for not
and
just
in my
cleanliness,
division,
but also
4,000 of them had trench foot.
Christian, patriotic
Trench
game
foot
and
in those days meant the
creativity.
amputation of
So at
one
the end
or
of the
both
week,
feet.
we have room with
And
the
this
most
infuriated
points
General
wins,
Patton.
award.
So he came to
So
our
we have a
division,
camp newspaper.
and
In
he
fact, I'm just about to
addressed
post the paper
each of our
on the
regiments,
camp
regiment by
Constitution
regiment.
script page.
He ordered the
If you
officers
have,
to have dry
if you
socks
go
brought up to
go
us
to our
with
website,
every day's
campconstitution.net,
meal.
you will see a
From
link
that time
to
on, we
script,
didn't have
and you'll find
trench
this year's newspapers as well
he was
as
the one officer
other
that
camp
cared
newspapers
for
archived.
the
Give you a
men
good
who were
flavor of the
serving
camp
him.
of fun.
There's
And
a dozen
also
other stories I could tell.
we
I'm
had
not too
campers
sure
write about
how
some
far
of
to
the
go.
events they participated in.
Um,
And anyway,
but
we
and
had a new camp
one thing I
newspaper
will
editor
mention in
this
defense of
year,
General
and
Patton,
anyway, we're
almost
hoping
everybody
that
that
he'll be able
hears
to
about him or
return.
talks about him
And
knows about the
I think
slapping
you'll enjoy
incident.
the camp
In
paper
Sicily,
anyway,
he's
so please visit
visiting
the
a
script
hospital,
page on Camp
and he
Constitution
found
script
this
page. Next year's camp
soldier
will be
at
held
the
about that
entrance
same
of
time
one of
frame.
the
Will be July
surgical
10th
ward
to
tents.
the
Hospitals
17th.
were in tents.
At the
and
Toiletry
he,
Retreat
got
Center,
his-
we're lining up. We got a couple
said,
of
"What are you
guests
doing
we've
here?"
invited,
He
and
said,
we haven't
"I
got
can't take
confirmation.
it."
As soon as we do,
And,
we'll let you know.
After a few words,
But I'd like to change the
gloves
topic
and
a little
slappers.
bit to talk about the
helmet.
Confederate flag issue. Now, a
So
recent
he's been
development
criticized
happened.
for that ever
We
since. I
were
can tell
told,
more,
many people saying this is
but,
nothing
when
more than a
General
distraction.
Eisenhower ran into a similar
Distraction to
situation
keep our eye off more
in
important issues
Europe
like
a little
what
bit
Obama's
later,
doing
he had
around the
Private
world,
Slovak stood up against a
what he
wall
isn't
and shot.
doing, and
Now, having been one of those
these
guys,
ridiculous transatlantic
private,
partnerships and
and
trans-Pacific
either of
partnerships.
these could apply to
And I
me,
would say
but would
maybe
much
to
rather
a
have
slight
my helmet
extent,
liner slapped
this
and
is more
stood up against the wall
sensational
and
than
shot.
something that's
So those are
but
what I
it's
think
not
of
as important as destroying our sovereignty, but
very clearly,
the flag issue is important. It's a cultural issue. Now, I am not a Confederate. I am a Yankee. I did have at least one shirtless that was a Confederate. He fought in Tennessee. But my lineage, we have many Civil War shirtless fought in the Civil War. Several lost their lives. My son Nathaniel is named after an ancestor of mine, Nathaniel Bradstreet Shirtliff, who was killed. He was a Massachusetts volunteer. He was an officer. He actually knew the commander, Robert Gould Shaw, of the 54th Regiment, the All-Black Regiment. So I'm not a Confederate in that, but I can understand. I see the Confederate battle flag. I don't get upset about it. I understand why South Carolina started using it back in the 1960s, and I know that there may be some racist groups that carry this flag. But you can see racist groups that carry the U.S. flag. You'll see communist groups carry the U.S. flag. Get some footage of the big communist rally at Madison Square Garden, where they probably hold up big pictures of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and carry the American flag. And if you want to really get technical about it, look at the U.S. flag. Well, we had slavery since July 4th, 1776. Up until the 13th Amendment. And some of these Northerners that are so smug and self-righteous that they were against slavery, they have a proud history. Every state that signed, that every delegate from those 13 states that signed the Declaration of Independence, they were all slave states. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, New Jersey, all these northern states were slave states. It was gradually eliminated in most of the northern states, Massachusetts being the first. Vermont came in as the first free state. I think it was 1791 and 92. But Massachusetts never had a large slave population to begin with. It really, slavery wasn't as important to the economy as it was, say, in South Carolina, where you had a large percentage of the population that was a slave population. And if you want to also look at during the Civil War, there were some states that were part of the Union that were slave states. Delaware, for example. Delaware and Maryland, West Virginia came into the Union in 1863 as a slave state. And I learned that slavery was in Connecticut. It was a gradual emancipation. And there was still slaves up until the 1840s, late 1840s. That's why the Amistad, they made a great movie about the Amistad. It was brought into New London, Connecticut, because it was still a slave state. Where New York had ended slavery by the late 1820s, Connecticut still had slavery up until 1848. New Jersey still had a couple of slaves by the time of the Civil War. So the notion that the Confederate flag stands for slavery, you can make the same case that the U.S. flag stands for slavery.
When it comes to having grandchildren,
the Civil War is over. 500,000 people died. But recently,
you'll all have grandchildren.
A black Confederate supporter, black Confederate flag activist died in car crash at the flag rally. So now we have murder. So now it's not just a distraction, but if you happen to support the Confederate flag, or the idea that people should be free to fly it, you are now you may be killed. His name was Anthony Kirby, a 49-year-old resident of Oxford, Mississippi. He was reportedly run off the road and killed as he made his hometown late Sunday morning. Harvey was shot here with cancer in 2000. He actually wrote a book called Why I Fly the Confederate Flag.
And I thought he was one of the most outgoing, inspirational men I met.
In the Civil War,
and he's never been to, I don't think he's ever been to this camp, I don't believe, although he's helped support it over the years with his generosity. Mr. Kingsbury has been, as you see, he's got a uniform on, and you see that, those ribbons, that one in the middle, that's because he got hurt during combat. It's called the Purple Heart. He's a World War II veteran.
By the way, I'm reading an online article from the New American Magazine, Monday, July 20th.
fought under General Patton, and we have something in common. I didn't fight under General Patton's son, but I served under him, and he served under the dad. Mr. Kingsbury's been a long-time chap leader for the John Birch Society, wherever state he lives, New Orleans or Louisiana at one point, and now in New Hampshire. He has run for office, and one of these days he's going to win. He was a gubernatorial candidate for the Libertarian Party. I think he ran for Congress. He's currently running for state rep as a Republican. Let's give a nice warm hand to
Hal's a great guy.
U.S. Highway 90 Confederate Gray carrying the Confederate Battle Flag.
And I think you're
Harry wore a Robert E. Lee t-shirt. At the time, Harvey explained, I am marching for freedom. Battle flag stands for freedom and states' rights.
So why
incidentally,
and I do have an answer.
recently posted an article. It was actually a sermon. It was a sermon done by a minister or pastor, and I can't remember his name offhand. And it was he gave permission to permission to reproduce it.
That I will
it was
support
called
and defend the Constitution of the
Battle
United
Flag,
States.
and I think this was about 20 years old. It's a little booklet. It's on my script page, and I think I might have put it on the Constitution page. If not, I'll do it soon. Anyway, back to the article. See, at the Birmingham rally, Barnum publicly... Oh, okay.
Faithfully discharge the duties.
Okay, he argued in 2000, we currently live under a psychological form of Reconstruction. Whites are made to feel guilty for sins of their ancestors, and blacks are made to feel downtrodden. This keeps all of us from communicating. The political correctness of today is killing the pride of the people. At the Birmingham rally, Barnum publicly burned. Now, this would be if Barnum was publicly burned his NAACP charge and discussed the executive opposition to the Confederate flag. Police were forced to intervene and arrest several counter-protesters who attempted to attack Barnum, Hervey, and other pro-Confederate black Americans. So you see, not just a question of free speech, now you will be physically attacked if you're black, if you dare get off that left-wing white plantation that the white liberals have set up for you. You see, you're allowed to think certain things, but not get out of that parameter. Well, I have a lot of respect for these people.
Regiment by regiment.
And bullies, by the way.
Ordered the officers to have dry socks brought up to us with every day's meal.
Hervey was the author of Why Away the Confederate Flag, written by a black man. Wearing a Confederate uniform and waving the Confederate flag at Oxford Town Square, he would often attract an audience for his talks on the subject of the Civil War. Several years ago, Harvey told Brother Harry that he should not worry about those who shouted them in anger as they marched along Highway 90 waving the Confederate flag. He'll yell a lot and want you to confront
almost everybody that hears about him,
Brother Harvey was correct in the assurance that his brother would become the result of investigation. So what happened was that he was driving back from the rally with
and he found this
lady that he met, and a group of carload of black people were forced him off the road, and he died in the accident. So they have him just still looking for leads and so forth. So that's a little bit more than just a distraction, and I'm sure these kinds of things. But folks, we are definitely, a culture war is getting bloody. Whether it be the homosexual agenda, where bakers ran out of the state. The power of the state is harnessed by the militant, narcissistic homosexuals who talk about liberty and equality and freedom, and they want rights, but if you dare oppose them, you will be run out of business and destroyed. But I think that public opinion will be on our side. At some point, I think more and more people will see what's going on, and be shaken out of their lethargy and take responsible action.
Officially,
and
had
stop
1.6
this nonsense.
per
But
day
anyway,
of combat per 1,000 men.
getting back to the camp,
The other generals in Europe
my whole family participates in the
per
camp.
1,000 men per day of combat.
My
So
son,
in my opinion,
Nathaniel,
General
who's
Patton was
turned
twice
18
as good,
this year,
twice
was a
better
counselor for the
than any
first
of the other
time.
generals in Europe.
And my daughter Emily was a junior camper, and my
As far as
daughter
being in the
Georgia,
John
who's
Birch Society, I joined in
21, was
1962.
also a counselor, and my wife is a counselor. And
Got
say
to
that my
fight of the
14-year-old daughter
attacks on the
Christina
John Birch
was a
Society, you might
camper, and
say.
she was nominated for
One of the
camp.
events that
Yeah.
occurred
Anyway,
which
it was a wonderful camp program,
my oath, so
and
help me God.
we have a plan. We put out a business plan not too long
President Kennedy
ago,
was shot,
last fall,
which of course
where
stunned the
we would
country.
like to hire a full-time person,
Immediately,
not only to
the three major
run a
TV
camp,
channels,
but we'd like to
ABC,
expand the program
NBC,
in other parts of the
CBS
United
in New
States,
York
and
City,
maybe even other
got
parts
their
of the
cameramen
world.
out on the streets of
But
New York,
our focus
and
would be
asking the
primarily
man
in
in
the
the
United
street
States, although
what
we
they
would
thought.
definitely
And
consider
every one of them, the
doing
man in
something
the
like this.
street,
We've
said
got
he
a
was
great
shot by a
model
right-wing
what we do at our
extremist.
camp from
The other channels got man
from
in
the
the street.
first
He was
day
shot by a
to the last
right-wing
day,
extremist.
the different
Well, I was a
activities,
right-wing
the types of
extremist,
classes,
and I was
camp,
concerned
sort of
at
culture.
these reports.
And we would like to take
Fortunately,
this
as far as
and
I'm
plant
concerned,
other
it was a
camps.
miracle.
And it does
There was a
take
TV
some
station in
commitment.
New Orleans
It takes some financial
that,
resources. But I tell you,
remembered
it's
and
definitely
had
worth
a
it.
film
You
file
can make a profound
on
impact
Lee Harvey
on the
Oswald
lives of
as an agent
many,
for Cuba.
many hundreds, if not
The Free
thousands,
Play for Cuba Committee.
of young
And they
people.
played
Now, our
this, and of
camp,
course,
we had a
it's
little over
eliminated
100.
right-wing
We had about 94 for a whole week,
conspiracy
and some
as far
visitors
as I'm concerned, that was
stayed
an
for a few
absolute
days.
miracle.
Some people
At
came
least that's the way
early,
I felt
left
at that
early,
time.
came late, what have you.
So, having
But
been in the John
most
Birch
of the
Society for
classes
these
are
years,
up on, will be up on YouTube. Classes
It's
from
worth the
previous
effort.
years are up there,
It's worth the fight.
and a lot of the fun things we do. Although I'm of the opinion that learning can be a lot of fun too if the instruction is good. And,
far more than
it's interesting. Some of these new
believable.
campers, there's one young man.
One of the things I'll use, which you may accept or may not accept,
just a little
there was
north
a book
of
written in 1984.
Claremont,
This is a
New
reversal
Hampshire.
of numbers.
He
The
said
author
he
wrote
was
the
so
book in
glad to be around
1948.
people
He
we
just
can
reversed
actually
the final
talk to
numbers.
people have
That
interest
at
in
that
similar
time,
things.
Big Brother should
One of our
control
campers,
every
is a
nation
friend of
in the
my
world.
son, is homesick.
That
He
has
was over
not
the house a
happened,
little while ago.
in my opinion,
I'm doing the show on a Sunday,
to
taping
the
it the
John
day
Birch
before we
Society.
actually air it. And he's he has some friends back home, but the
One
friends
thing I'll tell
really
you,
can't
it's
relate
worth,
to this.
okay,
Well,
as
that's
a
your
soldier
job
in the Army, the only
as a-
fame I
as
can
a
claim is that I
leader
put one foot in front of
to,
another. As a member of the John Birch
people
Society,
to
the only
get
thing
them
I can claim
get
is I
them to
put one foot in
understand
front of
some
another.
things
And my suggestion to
about
you,
our
put one foot in
freedoms
front of
and our
another.
country and our great history. And then maybe they'll
Had
start
the
to
advice,
decide
don't
if
take
they
counsel in
decide
your
about
fear.
themselves. Anyway, so the plan is to have
Evaluate
a
things,
person
but
working with maybe
don't
more than one person.
be overwhelmed by
Doing
what your
homeschool
fears may or may not
shows,
be.
doing a lot of public relations, and it's just a question of raising the funds to
paraphrase
do that.
something
It's always
Colonel
the money,
Patton
isn't it,
told us.
when it comes to doing anything, whether it's a radio show or...
When it
we
comes
do
to
have
having
some potential
grandchildren,
out there, and hopefully we'll be able to do something like this very
United
soon.
States staying
And we'll be
the way it
able to
should,
get on
we'll all
the
have
homeschool
grandchildren,
circuit. We
or
do a few
possibility of
homeschool shows in the
grandchildren.
region,
And
but we'd like to be able to hit many
when
of
your
them.
grandchildren are sitting on
Not
your
just
knee,
the
they
camp
say,
model, but some of the
Grandma or
materials we make
Grandpa,
available.
what did you do
And
back
even
during your
at a
great
homeschool
days?
show,
And
we
I'll
may not
assure
get a
you,
whole
you
lot of
don't want to
people
tell
that
them
come
that
to
you
the
sat in
camp,
front of a
but we
TV
reach out to
and ate
people.
pizza.
And even homeschoolers, a lot of them don't
I think that's my
have
story for the
good
evening.
information that we make available. Although I have to say, homeschool there's a whole lot more the attendees, what are the first 10 amendments referred to? What are they referred to? And very few people knew it was the Bill of Rights. And that demonstrates the need for our camp program and the need to expand it. So with more help, we'll be able to do more of these kinds of things. We'll have more floats and parades and more tables at counties and county fairs and homeschool shows. And God willing, we'll have a few more camps, maybe many more camps. We can do a week-long camp. We can do a weekend camp. It doesn't have to be a week-long camp. We can get a nice Friday to Sunday type camp. So we really think the sky's the limit. And if you're interested in helping, looking into what we're doing, helping us financially, helping us with your shoe leather, helping us with your efforts, give us a call. Go to our website, www.campconstitution.net. You see a sponsors page. Many of those sponsors, by the way, are folks that maybe make banners for us or do printing for us. They're not necessarily financial sponsors. They'll make donations, donate their resources, donate their talents, and a lot of the money we raise are from the sale of donated materials, books, and things of that nature. So all kinds of things. And you may have people, maybe you don't have the resources, but you know people that might. So copy and paste. Show them what we do. Show them the great fun we have, the great wholesome fun we have at camp, and the great instruction that goes on. Let them know. Don't let this camp be a secret. Help get the word out. Copy and paste this show as we put it up on YouTube. Go to the YouTube channel at Camp Constitution. And this has been Hal Shurtleff, your host for Camp Constitution Radio, heard on WBCQ The Planet every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.